just capture a very large and disturbing amount of poltergeist-style activity in perfectly clear view of a camera? Or is this surreal video not as supernatural as it appears? We're going to go ahead and have a closer look, because I saw multiple things in this video that tipped me off. This is not a poltergeist playing pranks, but a person who picked the perfect position to try and pull the wool over our eyes. This would be the moment where I would typically tell you to go and watch the whole original video, as there was much more going on than what I could show you in that short stitch time frame. However, there was no stitch here. I've already shown you the video in its entirety. So let's start the breakdown. This is just a list of the enhancements that I made to the video for clarity. And as for most cases, these enhancements opened up a whole new field of view as far as what I could actually see in the video. The first major occurrence we see in the video is this bag swinging side to side on the door handle. If there was a monofilament fishing line attached to the bottom left corner of this bag, then someone outside of the frame could very easily be manipulating this and making it swing. So the next major occurrence we see in the video is this book seemingly jump off the bookshelf on its own volition. This could once again be very easily recreatable with a monofilament fishing line just simply tied around the top corner in the back portion of the book. And the reason I'm going that route is simply because this book was not secured in place by any other books. I give the filmer this: they were smart enough to know that if that book was secured between the bookshelf and the other stack and they pulled that inside book, that most likely the rest of the books would have came out with it, and they would have had a lot more of a mess to pick up after they were done filming. And the next thing we're going to look at is a stop and splice film edit. At the 6.26 second mark, the film completely shifts position, telling me that they had stopped and restarted the video. They were shifting positions, and that would have given ample time to reposition strings or whatever else they were trying to do, because we don't know how long that camera was paused for. And when the camera pans over, we now see the second book fly off the shelf. But once again, this was a book that was not held in place by any other books or any other factors, so very easily done with a monofilament fishing line. I will say it is kind of odd though if you look at picture 3 and you notice I have a bunch of question marks, right? The question marks are because the book seems to disappear as it falls down towards the ground. However, this can be explained as a play of light, optics, and megapixels of the camera. If the camera's megapixels weren't all that great, which they don't appear to be because this video is a little fuzzy, as that book fell, due to the poor lighting and the angle, it could have just seemed to disappear for a second, when in all actuality, it never disappeared at all. It's just how it appears to us due to how this was filmed. And my dear God, why did a third unsecured book jump off the shelf? I don't know about you guys, but this bookshelf thing is getting really old to me. However, once again, a third unsecured book jumps off the shelf, and as it falls, just like the second one, this one seemingly disappears, strengthening my theory of how that first one disappeared due to a play on angle, lighting, and megapixels of the camera. And dear Jesus, for the fourth time now, we have books being manipulated on the bookshelves. Why is there so much focus around the bookshelf? I'll tell you why. Because these books are most likely the lightest objects in the room. They're going to be the easiest to manipulate without the plausibility of being caught. However, there's a difference between doing it correctly and overdoing it. This is overdoing it. And also, I'm not so sure those were books as much as they were magazines that were just kind of stacked vertically. And after zooming in and looking closer, you can definitely tell these are magazines. So just a suggestion to the person filming this video, one of these separator things, they work wonders when it comes to storing magazines on shelves, because magazines are flimsy. At any point in given time, those could have fell out. However, in this case, they were definitely pulled out purposely for the appearance of the video. And now we're going to look at a second film cut. At the 11.02 second and 11.03 second mark, once again, the camera completely shifts position. Which once again strengthens my other theory of how they took the time out from the first film cut to tie more monofilament fishing lines to the objects they wanted to pull off the bookshelf. And then out of nowhere, a huge flash of light comes through the windows on the door. But please, be rest assured, this is not an alien visitation. And I say it's not an alien visitation because the last picture here is very important. Notice how it goes from extremely bright and then dims itself down. So once again, we get a very bright flash of light that goes from bright to extremely dim. However, just like the first time, the last picture in this sequence is very important. I want you to look at that. And the reason why that picture is so important is you notice it dims from the top going down. That tells me that the object that is emitting this light is sitting lower than at least the second set of windows on this door. I kind of feel like if my hunch is correct, that door most likely leads to a garage. And if it does indeed lead to a garage, then that would perfectly explain why it was extremely bright, as the car would most likely be closer to the door than it would have been if it was outside. Because garages, they're kind of confined spaces. And it would also perfectly explain the dim down of the light. As it dimmed from the top to the bottom, that would be about the perfect positioning of where a car would be sitting. Just food for thought. And now we get the third flash of light coming through those windows. But there is a difference here. If you notice, there seems to be a silhouette. Now the silhouette can only be seen in picture 2 and picture 4, where the light was coming in, getting stronger, and then going back down. What is this figure? Where did it come from? And the remainder of this video is nothing more than light fluctuations coming from that doorway. However, once again, pay attention to the 4th photo. I don't know why it's always the 4th photo that seems to be important. Because in this one, you happen to see a figure looking through the door, right? You can see eyes, you can see what almost look like ears. Kind of cat-like, if you ask me. I mean, if you ask me, that profile of the figure standing in the window as the light flashes almost perfectly matches any kind of cheap mask you can get, whether it be a PJ mask or a Black Panther mask, or even one of those cheap tiger style masks that you can get at the dollar store. Now the picture on the right doesn't perfectly match the angle and or distance as to the picture on the left of the figure that you can see through the window. However, please tell me that that profile on this mask as compared to that is not extremely close. And considering the fact that you're only seeing it from the eyes down, there could have been someone crouched down below the window holding that mask in place, and you would never even know the difference. Because their hand wouldn't be visible because they're below the window. And with how popular the PJ masks have been over the last several years, I have almost no doubt that there was someone sitting in the car flashing the headlights, and there was a person crouched below the door holding up a Catboy mask, because the profile almost perfectly matches. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that was a lot to unpackage. So was there really a poltergeist playing pranks on this family? Yeah, I don't think so. The books on the bookshelf could have been manipulated with a monofilament fishing line, and the film cuts strengthened my theory on that as far as repositioning the strings so that we didn't have them all in frame at once. The flashing lights were most certainly just a car in a garage. And the figure that appears in the window at the end is apparently a child's Halloween mask just held up where you can't see them because they're crouched down below the window. However, that's just my opinion. What's yours?